Who is on that list? Well, that's the big question on everyone's mind right now that I think is perfectly depicted in this little AI animated series.
Release the list, Donnie! Release it!
I can't do it, JD. The crypto market is pumping. I cannot risk a crash.
But that doesn't make any sense. Wait. Who really is on that list, Donald?
As the question, I think, probably won't be answered anytime soon, as Donald Trump is over in Europe giving some very strange, bold statements about the Jeffrey Epstein saga that just got a little bit more confusing, as Donald Trump just gave a totally different answer than what Donald Trump Jr. was saying when we heard about the ouster of Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. This, as there's still questions remaining to where are the remaining files? What did allegedly the Democrats do to them? As now there's a big potential Ghislaine Maxwell pardon on the play here. What will happen? How will all of this develop? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about here in this independent media broadcast. And if you appreciate these type of frank discussions that don't just worship politicians and actually try to get to the bottom of it and tell you the truth, regardless of political affiliation and lines, subscribe. Click the notification button. You're definitely at the right place if you're looking for that, as of course this whole entire saga has been absolutely bewildering. It's been wild. It's been crazy, and I think it's only going to get that much crazier from here. Now, will we get the truth? I don't know. All of this is now the Speaker of the House just entered and gave his 2 cents into the larger conversation about Ghislaine Maxwell. We will tell you what he had to say in a little bit, as of course he didn't have the most flattering things to say about Miss Maxwell, who Donald Trump has been wishing well multiple times now. All of this as Donald Trump in Europe just talked about how the Democrats, quote, may have planted something in the Epstein files. Now, again, very vague language here. They may have. Did they? Like, can we get to the bottom of this? What are you talking about here? As of course, this is only going to create more of a mystery that people want to get to the bottom of, as we deserve to get to the bottom of this. And if this is as Donald Trump says, it's a very convenient thing to have a lot of people like Catchturd and other people and other influencers being like, yeah, of course, yeah, 100%. It's all the Democrats' fault. For what? What did they exactly do here? What was planted? What was faked? And who did it? If that actually is going to be addressed here, there should be charges pressed. Let's listen to the President of the United States over with the UK Prime Minister explaining this when the media started hounding him with questions, particularly about Jeffrey Epstein.
On the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name is...
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. You know, it's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say...
Who built up the hoax? Okay. Why are we calling it a hoax now? It's been built up to grand proportions. There's been a buildup here for a very long time, ever since 2008, ever since Epstein was a registered sex offender and then started hanging out with very powerful people. People started to ask the questions, what's going on here? As of course, this man of mystery was moving around billions of dollars without any kind of financial record or transaction or detail of where that money was actually coming in and out of. No accounting at all. No knowledge, no information at all about who, what, where, and why. And if we look at the people who propped up this story, it was you, it was your key members of your administration, and it was overwhelmingly your base that was very happy that you said specifically, we were going to get some justice here regarding the Jeffrey Epstein saga.
Say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax.
What's a hoax? The files? I mean, the U.S. government has about 100,000 files. They were not released ever since there was details that came out, according to now multiple sources, that Trump's name was in it. Now, again, a lot of people are saying Trump's probably, not as guilty as the left wants him to be, but we don't know that now as the jury's out with his kind of weird, erratic behavior here and statements that aren't backed by any facts or evidence, but now his side of the story, which is bewildering here because, again, he's talking about the scum of the earth had these files. It's a hoax. Wait, what? Okay, what exactly happened here? Give us the breakdown and tell us who, what, where, and why. We still don't know that. All we're being told, first we're told nothing exists. Then we're told to shut up. Then we're told you're not really supporting us if you're bringing this up. Obviously, and you're telling us, oh, this is not an issue of importance. Clearly it is for everyone else. Clearly, everywhere you go, people are bringing it up. So clearly, this is a major big issue.
They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files.
Now, listen, if they really had anything, why did they, not do anything with them? I mean, they were throwing the kitchen sink at Donald Trump. Donald Trump was facing 700 years in jail. He was getting shot at. And now you're telling me that they had files that they were cooking against you and they didn't utilize? Like if you're the Democrats, right, and you cook the books and you make Donald Trump look guilty in the Epstein saga, you play that card, right? Because they played every other card, right? They said a whole bunch of other stuff that was untrue. The whole Russian collusion, that was untrue. This is where there's a big disconnect here, because if you're telling me that they left evidence of the Russian collusion being true, that they found, that they're exposing now, but they deleted Epstein stuff, but they didn't delete the other criminal stuff. The whole story just doesn't add up here, and Donald Trump is adding to the confusion, adding to the Streisand effect here. We're going to play the full clip. There's also another clip where he contradicts his son in the official story of how Epstein was kicked out of Mar-a-Lago. That's another big story here. Before talking about that and a lot more, lukeunfiltered.com. Sign up. Quick, easy, simple. Click the link down in the description. Come over here and signing up. It's quick, easy, it's simple. 13 years of videos centered around helping you. We do in real life meetups. We do nature hikes. We do range days. We're going to do a lot more stuff with you as a member. Sign up right now. As, of course, we are talking right now in the Telegram group. You could be a part of those conversations right now just by signing up to lukeunfiltered.com. Let's get back to this clip, because this clip's important to break down, okay? This clip is very important to understand here, because these are people, and again, there's still some people that are cheerleading this. Like, yeah, those evil Democrats. Wait, what did those evil Democrats do? What's going on here?
If they had something, they would have released. Now, they...
Yeah. That's what a lot of people are saying. Like, maybe they cooked the books. They had the Epstein files. They put you in them, right? They hoaxed it, and they didn't use it? Why didn't they use it if they were throwing the kitchen sink at you?
can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier.
Yeah, that was based on Russian collusion, but this is not Russian collusion. They left the evidence there, right? So if they cooked the books on Epstein and they cooked the books on Russia, why didn't they use the Epstein books?
And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They can put things in the file that are fake, but those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe, and then he gave out because he was 25 points down, and then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about her. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're doing, but she was the border czar.
Okay, and again, like, these are just wild, bewildering statements that just don't make sense.
Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris, but nobody knew her last name. So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon.
What does this have to do with the Epstein files?
It was amazing. They predicted she would have a 6-week honeymoon, and she did. And then she got slaughtered. But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election. Yeah.
But okay, but now you have the files, and you're not releasing the files, and there's multiple reports of multiple people confirming that you're in the files. So, okay, why don't you just release the files? Like, what's going on here? Is now we're kind of left with betting markets, like trying to predict who's on the list, who's not on the list. As Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly named 100 people. What's going on with those 100 people? Will they be prosecuted? Will they be held responsible? Will they actually be put in front of a grand jury? Will they actually be forced to testify with the victims here? As the victims are being left out on the cold. We were told we got to protect the victims, and no longer are the victims being protected. They're being kind of ignored here. As people are betting that Bill Clinton's on there, Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, Alan Dershowitz, Donald Trump, Stephen Hawking, Kevin Spacey, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Henry Kissinger, Jay-Z, Michael Jackson. Okay, well, who in the world knows here? As of course, there's a lot of other big players that were a part of the global banking system that also have their names all over here. As of course, Epstein predominantly was a big money mover. But he was able to skirt all the rules, laws, and regulations to the point where even the major banks had to settle out with the victims here. As now we're also finding out that Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with Donald Trump soured because, quote, Epstein was stealing people that worked for Donald Trump, quote, twice. Yes, we were told originally by Donald Trump Jr., and he said this to me and Josie, the redheaded libertarian, when we were doing Timcast. He told us specifically, Donald Trump kicked out Jeffrey Epstein because he was being pervy with some of the young staff at Mar-a-Lago. Now, we're hearing a totally different version of events who's telling us a completely different story of what happened here. So what in the world happened here? Is, of course, the question was, hey, why did you throw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago? This is what Donald Trump had to say.
The time you threw him out of Mar-a-Lago, can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach for him?
That's such old history, very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help, and I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again, and I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out. And that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
He hired help. Can we find out who he hired? Can we get some of those people to testify about people that were working for Epstein? Maybe what they know, what was going on here. What was Trump employing underage girls? And that's the person he hired here. As of course, we were told multiple times, especially by Don Jr., who told me this personally, face to face. Yeah, Epstein was kicked out of Mar-a-Lago for being inappropriate with minors. Now, are these the two minors that previously worked for Donald Trump here? He's told, and again, Donald Trump reiterated he was told not to do it. He did it again. We also heard that there was a potential real estate dispute between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that also led to the big kind of divide here, this big kind of frustration and anger between the two pals, between the two friends that hung out together, that partied together here. As, listen, I still think there should be a bigger consideration of, let's talk about Bill Clinton here, but there's still some very unanswered questions about Trump. And the more that they kind of don't have their story straight here, the more that we keep hearing different sides of different stories and different explanations here, the more people are going to have some legitimate questions here to wait, okay, he wasn't inappropriate with girls then? That's why he wasn't kicked out? Why was he kicked out? Because he was stealing other people that were working for you? And again, whoever those people are, now I want to know, did Donald Trump name them? No, he didn't name them. All of this, as Ghislaine Maxwell is filing for appeal at the Supreme Court to overturn her trafficking conviction. And there's a big part where she might actually be pardoned, as we had another British reporter ask him, hey, are you going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? Is that something you would consider? And Donald Trump gave an answer that was very interesting here, as we have the Speaker of the House calling her a horrible monster, but Donald Trump had this to say about potentially letting her off the hook for what many people allege to be very serious crimes against children.
You completely rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell when you landed. Is that something you would ever consider, and why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it. it's in the news about that aspect of it, but right now it would be inappropriate to talk about it. So,
Mr. President.
It would be inappropriate to talk about it right now. So it's kind of a non-answer here. As the Speaker of the House here came out and said on Sunday that he would have great pause about granting a pardon or commuting Ghislaine Maxwell, while another House Republican said it would be considered as part of an effort to obtain more information about Jeffrey Epstein's crime. Mike Johnson had other choice words to say here as well throughout all of this, as a lot of people now believe the current play that's going to be made here is that Donald Trump will get Ghislaine Maxwell to come out, testify against all these other people, say that he was innocent, and Ghislaine Maxwell, who wants a pardon, probably will do this, and will allow Donald Trump to kind of get away from all of this. Now, again, Donald Trump still has a lot of documents to release here, 100,000 of them. There's a lot of financial records that should be released, haven't been released at all here. And listen, there's still a lot of other big players here. As long as there's some kind of justice and accountability, I think overall, vast majority of people will be okay with Donald Trump if he actually takes decisive actions and arrests high-profile predators out there and stops them from hurting children. I think that could be a major victory for a lot of people, including Donald Trump here. That could save his reputation as a guy who, of course, went after and stopped some of the most prolific evil people on the face of this earth that many people believe are still out there. The question remains, is Jeffrey Epstein still out there? Is he still doing all these horrible things here? As now the bigger question remains, what if Ghislaine Maxwell is released throughout all of this? What if we are going to be seeing her out there with the latest book deal, with the latest type of political maneuvering, as of course, well, listen, I'm not even too sure if she might not even run to be a senator at this particular point here. Now, again, this issue is not going away. Joe Rogan and other kind of podcasters are going to continue to talk about this because this is what the vast majority of people want to talk about. They want to talk about how there's a two-tier justice system. We were promised many powerful people were going to be locked up. We were told we were going to lock her up. None of that actually happened here. Donald Trump says that Barack Obama has immunity here from his previous past actions. Donald Trump clearly doesn't want to arrest very powerful people. He hasn't. He's memeing that he will. But a lot of people are saying, hey, there's some very weird statements here. There's not a lot of disclosures. The only thing we have gotten so far, and we have to remember, this is the only thing we got. The only thing we have gotten so far was the fact that we were told that, hey, we're going to ask a judge. A judge said, no, I'm not releasing anything. No, you're not getting anything. And of course, that was a liberal judge. That was a part of the initial cover-up effort. And of course, what else did you expect to happen here? And this is why Donald Trump is receiving a lot of tough questions, especially from the independent media, that see this as blood in the water, and they're taking full advantage of it. I mean, look at this guy who asked Donald Trump this particular question, as of course now a lot of reporters are saying stuff as brazen as this to Donald Trump.
On August 1st and beyond. Okay?
Mr. President, was part of the rush to get this deal done to knock the Jeffrey Epstein story out?
Oh, you got to be kidding with that. No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would think that. That had nothing to do with it.
As you could see here, Donald Trump didn't take that question as seriously as it was asked, and he kind of laughed it off here. But you could see from his facial expressions, he's definitely getting frustrated. He's definitely understanding that this is, can you see the eye roll here? You see the frustration. This is an issue that's not going to go away unless there's actually legitimate disclosures, legitimate accountability, transparency, and answers towards the story of the decade that extremely powerful people want to go away. Now, if it is a Democratic hoax, prove it and arrest the people who hoaxed it, who destroyed evidence or planted evidence. Those are criminal charges that, listen, if you have to bring them in and you have to be like, hey, bring in Clapper, bring in Brennan, and let's have them testify at least, right? Why are you giving them a chance to lawyer up here during these cases? Why are you letting the cat out of the bag here? Because if they clearly did do this, you bring them to a deposition immediately. we're pressing charges, destruction of evidence. We think you did this. Now we're going to see if you did. Now we're going to depose you under oath. Tell us right now. Did you delete files? Did you obfuscate them? Did you put things in there? Okay, if you weren't in control of the files, you didn't access the files, you didn't manipulate the files, who was underneath you? Bring them in again, right? If you're Donald Trump, this is what you need to do. If his story is actually true here, or is this another kind of obfuscation effort, as this reporter kind of alluded to, with Donald Trump trying to get people to not talk about this? And Donald Trump has tried to get people not to talk about this. And vast majority of people are saying, we're going to keep talking about this. I'm still waiting. I know we got some very kind of weird statements from Dan Bongino, some very kind of boomer-esque statements. But listen, unless there's actually legitimate disclosures, legitimate answers here, legitimate accountability, legitimate arrest, this is still a major L. And this is something that, of course, a lot of people won't forget. And if you agree that this is something we shouldn't forget, subscribe, click the notification button, because we will continue to talk about these important stories as they develop, as they happen, because I think they deserve to be talked about. Thank you so much for everyone who signed up to LukeUnfiltered.com. Again, 13 plus years of videos about trying to better yourself with my own personal examples. Again, the stuff we told you about were very fortuitous. A lot of stuff we warned you about, we were able to help so much people. Again, you also get one-on-one access to me. You get to talk to me. We get to be a part of the newsroom. You get to be a part of this independent media organization. And a lot of this is only made possible because of you and your direct one-on-one support and participation. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys doing that. And this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.